Good afternoon and welcome to All About Animals. I am Sherry Graditor, and this afternoon we are at the Children's Advocacy Center in Gurnee with actually two very special guests. We have Mike Nerheim, who is the state's attorney, yes?
Yep.
Of Lake County, and we have Mitchell, who is, believe it or not, a dog. But he's a very special dog. And we're here to talk about Mitchell and the work that Mitchell is doing and the work that Mitchell could be doing. So, okay, Mike, how did we wind up with Mitchell?
So Mitchell is, he's a comfort dog, and he works here, as you said, at the Children's Advocacy Center in Gurnee. And, we came up with the idea about a year ago when I learned that there was prosecutor offices around the country, mainly in like the Seattle area and in New Mexico, that have dogs like this that work with their child victims of sexual assault. So I learned a lot about the program and decided pretty quickly that I thought we should have a dog here in Lake County. So we contacted a group out of St. Louis called Support Dogs Incorporated, and they train these dogs and will provide the dogs to worthy organizations. So we applied for a dog, and we're lucky enough to receive Mitchell here about 6 or 8 months ago. So he's been here not too long, but he's already been a huge addition to our office. And as you can see, his job is to be just kind of a comfort to children when they come here.
Okay, and he is incredibly sweet, big, laid back, quiet. What does having a dog do for the kids?
So I should probably tell you a little bit what we do here at the Advocacy Center. And so we're here in Gurnee, and this is part of the state's attorney's office. It's a facility outside of the main courthouse where all the physical and sexual abuse cases involving children that happen in Lake County, they come here. And I think it says something that we have a whole separate facility just to handle those cases. It tells you that, first of all, there's a lot of them. Last year we saw 700 new cases come through these doors.
Good grief.
And it's really some of the most awful things you can imagine happening to children. But the idea of this center is to have a place that is comforting for the children when they come here, because we know that when you go to be interviewed by the police or by law enforcement or by us, it can be scary. Going to a police station, going to a courthouse, they're not designed to be kid-friendly, comfortable places. So the original idea behind the Advocacy Center was to not have those interviews be conducted at a traditional law enforcement setting, but something that would be more comfortable for the kids. So here we have age-appropriate interview rooms. There's 4 of them, and they don't look like interview rooms. They look like maybe a living room. And again, it's designed to be comforting. You can see the murals on the wall here, and again, this is all designed so when children come here, they're not as intimidated. They can feel a little bit more at ease, and it allows us to get to the truth easier. So that's the design behind the facility here and what we do here. And the most important part of this place isn't the place. The place is important, but the most important part is who works here. Everybody that works here is highly trained, very passionate about working with children, from the investigators we have, the forensic interviewers, the attorneys, the support staff. Everybody here is here because they really care about kids, and they're good at working with kids, and they're all handpicked to be here. Mitchell is a natural addition to what we do because he is here when children come in, and they're terrified and they don't want to be here, and they see him. And his training is to do basically what he's doing now, which is just kind of be relaxed and to be comfortable and to just be there. And he will sit there with the children when they're being interviewed. So when the child's being interviewed by the interviewer, he can be sitting right at their feet just like he's sitting here with us. The child can pet him. He's trained to be handed off to any of the attorneys, can take him and use him in the courthouse. If we have trials, there was a law that was passed recently here in Illinois which will allow these dogs to be in the courtroom.
Which is wonderful.
And
that was what, January of this year?
Yeah, it's a brand new law. In fact, that's where I met Mitchell. I went to Springfield to testify in support of this law. And it was myself and the senator that was proposing this, and there was a whole room full of senators, and we were being asked all these questions about whether this law should be in place or not. And the folks from St. Louis, from Support Dogs, brought Mitchell. And of course, he was the star of the show. And he laid in the middle of this big room, and the senators kept leaning over to see if he was moving or not. And they were just really blown away by his training, because I think if you don't know any better, you picture a dog in a courtroom. You picture maybe
Running
a dog
around.
running around and being a distraction, and I can understand that, but that's not what these dogs do. In fact, you know, he would lay there for an hour and nobody would even know he was there. So that's really what his training tells him to do. But so we met there because he was there to testify in his own way about supporting this, and we were lucky enough to just about come home with him. There was a little paperwork we had to do, but he was brought here shortly thereafter, and he's just been welcomed right into our family and a huge part of our team here. And he, you know, not only does he help the victims that come through our center, which is really his job, but he also helps the staff here, because if you can imagine working here every day, you see
have
some
to
pretty
carry a
awful
heavy
stuff.
load.
Yeah. So to have him here and walking around the facility has just been kind of a neat, you know, he lifts us all up. And when he comes into the main courthouse to our main office, he's treated like a celebrity. It's kind of neat.
Well, he is.
He is. All
He
the
is.
attorneys keep dog treats in their drawers, and, you know, he knows which offices are better at feeding him than others, and he's just, he's been great.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting training. I was reading a bit about what he'd gone through.
Yeah.
They actually send them to work with prisoners in a prison.
So when he's one of the first stages in his training is in a prison, and inmates that qualify for the program can have him in their cell, and, you know, not just him but other dogs. And it's really been a neat program, because the studies have shown that it helps reduce recidivism in the inmates that participate in this program. It reduces violence in the prison. It gives them a sense of purpose. It gives them, you know, obviously having a comforting presence like him in a prison, I think that goes
And
without saying.
exercises in loving, no question
Absolutely.
about it.
So it's just a great program all around. And then after the training in the prison, he goes back to support dogs for some more training. And then we sent 2 staff members from our office, one investigator and one assistant state's attorney, that they volunteer to be his primary and secondary handler. They go down for a week-long training to learn how to handle him, and then there's refreshers, and
Sure.
He's fully certified, and it's really neat, because these folks obviously really care about these dogs, because they were very you know, concerned about making sure that he was coming into a loving and caring environment, and they stay on top of us to make sure that he's taken care of, and
As it should be.
as it should be. And I think they're satisfied. They know we love him, and but it's just a great program. And since he's been here, I have received calls from my colleagues all over the state of Illinois, state's attorneys from all over, that have heard about Mitchell, that are now in the process of getting dogs for their respective offices. So it's been it's had a really neat domino effect.
Yeah. And I understand you now have a dog, Hitch. And a
We do.
second.
We do.
We've added a second, a black lab.
We have 2 dogs. Yeah, I think I have more dogs than some offices have lawyers, but it's these.
No way.
They're great. And so Hitch is our second dog, and we don't name them; they come named. So we have Hitch and Mitch. So that's kind of an interesting. It just sort of happened. But Mitch is used here at the Advocacy Center, and he is used almost exclusively with children. Hitch we use in the main courthouse, and we use him primarily with our specialty courts program. So Veterans Court, Drug Court, Mental Health Court, and he's there to be a calming presence in the courtroom, helping the defendants
Sure.
in court. So they can play a variety of different roles, and again, the nice thing about their training and them being interchangeable is either Hitch or Mitch, while they have their primary responsibilities, if, for example, we had a murder trial, and the victim's family were in our office, obviously emotional times and stressful times, and they needed some comfort, you know, they're available for those as well. So they can be used really for anything, and they're just, again, I can't say enough about how great it has been to have both these dogs in our office.
Now I understand you have another project coming up,
We do.
and that's a garden.
It's a healing garden, and so we're here in Gurnee. This is the old post office, if people are familiar with the Gurnee area, and the building on the outside looks like an old post office, so it's not exactly the most friendly and, you know, looking building when you pull up. On the inside, again, it's designed to be, as you can see,
Happy
comforting
and
happening.
outgoing and bright.
So what we're trying to do is kind of brightened up the outside of our building to make it more inviting and to have a space for victims to come, not only when they're here for the interview process, but even years later as they're going through their healing journey, to have a place that they can come to reflect, to be at peace, to feel secure, and to feel supported by all the people that support victims. So we're going to use some space on the north side of our building to create a healing garden environment for the children when they come here. Again, as they're here going through the court process, but it would be there for them for hopefully forever.
A beautiful thing, and I don't know if you're soliciting donations for that, but I know that you certainly can use them.
We are soliciting donations, so we have a Friends Committee here as part of the Advocacy Center, and that whole project is being funded by donations. So this isn't tax money being used. This is 100% donations. We've raised $80,000 so
Wow.
far. The Chicago Bears donated money to help us get this thing going. So we've had a lot of community partners that have come together to help us, and we're almost to our goal. We have a little bit more to go, and my goal is to have this garden in place by this summer. So.
Okay. How can someone who wants to get involved, because we are just about out of time,
Okay.
how can somebody who wants to get involved get a hold of whoever it is they need to speak to?
So if they go to the Lake County State's Attorney's Office website, Lake County or lcsao.org, they can be directed to the Advocacy Center, to our Friends Committee, and there's actually a donate button through our website as well. So that's the best way.
Kind of one of the neatest things that you can do on a long term to help people from when they're kids to as they need to come back and work to restore what they've lost. And now we are out of time, so
Okay.
before the camera shuts down, I want to thank you for having
Thank you.
us. And Mitch, thank you for being such a wonderful guest. And we will now take you to Save a Pet and show you some of the dogs and cats who are waiting there for adoption.